Yes, he gets the 2 goals, but some chances there that he probably should have finished as well, Stevie.
Yeah, listen, somebody his size, I suppose, is going to look cumbersome. That's not the problem I have with him. The problem I have with him is I'm not quite sure he's in full control of what he's doing. Yes, he scores goals, and I think the goals he scored today are a great example of, yes, the ball finally went in the net, but you're never quite confident or sure that he's actually going to take the opportunities that he's given. And I'm not talking about having strikes from 25 yards with 3 defenders in the way. I'm talking about in the penalty area when he's pretty much got the goalie to beat. You're not quite sure what he's doing. You're not quite sure he's picking out the corners. A lot of the times he's hitting it straight at the goalkeeper, and if it does go in, it's going through the goalkeeper or under his leg or under his arm, you know. The guy just doesn't instill confidence in me when he's in a position where you should score.
We criticize the manner, but the goals are there. The goals are there, John.
They are there, but I tend to agree with Stevie that there should be more goals for the number of chances that come his way. Yeah, you look at the 2 goals today, I think that takes him to something like 45 in international football in 78 appearances. You take that. But I do think that the criticism of Lukaku, particularly since moving to Manchester United, it's been in sharper focus, is that in the games that really count, the defining games of the season, he doesn't take enough of the chances that come his way. So I share that reservation about him.
It's interesting. You mentioned Manchester United, the scrutiny that comes with that. I mean, I guess the big question here is, Casey, is Lukaku good enough to be that front line number 9 for Manchester United? Is he?
Well, you have to see a level of consistency, and I don't think that's what you've seen. I think when you think back throughout the last, 20 years, and you look at the Manchester United strikers, from Andy Cole and Dwight York to, Teddy Sheringham to obviously Ruud van Nistelrooy, and then Wayne Rooney comes in. There's a level of consistency for years where the guys are scoring 20-plus goals every year, and you're not sure you're going to get that from Romelu Lukaku. What you see is 3 goals in 4 games, and then 6 games without a goal, and then 2 great goals, and then 4 games without another goal. And at the end of the season, you go, oh, well, there was 14, 15 goals, but they were...
And that's where stats lie. We always talk about stats sometimes lie. And with Lukaku, I don't think I'm out of order in saying that there's no question, we all agree, it's 2 or 3 chances to score 1. And that's why, in the games that matter, he doesn't get the goals, because he might get a chance. And when you need 3 or 2, and I'm being kind at 2, that's why he doesn't score in the big game.
And I think the other thing with Lukaku, at least what I see, is from a guy that has so much physical presence that you just expect to see it consistently throughout a match, where he's just flying on the end of things, running in behind, doing stuff. And then there's even at times in matches where he kind of drifts out of the game, and you think, wow, with that physical ability, he could truly just dominate opponents at times.
Destroy them.
I mean, he scored 4 goals in Nations League. He's got, what, 4 and I think 7 starts for Manchester United. He's just come off a brace. We're criticizing him. What am I missing?
Yeah,
I understand flat track bowling, but it seems like we pick on Lukaku a lot.
Yeah, but I think you're looking for a level of certainty about what a striker at Manchester United is going to produce.
He's only had 1 full season.
Yeah, he's only had 1 full season, but I think he's been profligate in that 1 full season. He got 27 goals. He should probably have had 37, if not 40, and been challenging Harry Kane at the top of the charts. Can you rely on him in the way that you can rely on Lewandowski? No, you can't. Can you rely on him in the way that you can rely on Harry Kane? No, you can't. So for me, he's not in that top cabal of European strikers. He's 1 level below that.
There used to be a criticism of Nicolas Anelka that if you looked at the 20 goals that he scored throughout a season, it was a goal when you're losing 3-0. It was a goal, it was really padding the stats when it wasn't really affecting the outcome of the result. Now, when you look at strikers that really rise to the forefront, are they scoring when it matters? When the team needs you to score at 1-1, at 0-0, are you getting those game winners? And I don't think you're necessarily seeing enough of that.
And again, when you go for, what was it, 90 million? Yeah, when you go to a team like Manchester United for 90 million and you're following in the footsteps of all these names that have just been thrown out, you're expected, when you're through on goal, that everybody just thinks that's going to be a goal. That's what we do with the Lewandowskis and players like that. We don't do that with Lukaku.
I would contend that Mourinho makes himself the target. He makes himself the lightning conductor, because if Mourinho is manager of your club, it is all about him. And you can't be like that, I don't think, at one of the leading clubs, a revered institution. I've been quite uncomfortable in recent days and weeks watching some of Mourinho's antics, which I think is probably the best way to describe them, and the way that he's choreographed certain situations, like the one that we saw at Carrington, at the training ground, with the supposed contretemps with Paul Pogba. I mean, make no mistake, if you turn up with a TV camera at Carrington, you struggle to get any footage, normally. So for a TV camera crew to turn up on a day where supposedly there's a window of open training and get the footage that they got is not by accident. And so someone is allowing that to happen, and that person, for me, is Mourinho, and therefore he's bringing upon himself the sort of negative attention that's coming his way, because he's always out there, it's always about him, so when the news is not good, that sticks to him as well as when it's good.
I love it. John Champion, conspiracy theorist.
There's that perception, right, with certain managers, and I think Mourinho is one of those managers where the manager's responsible for the victory and the players are responsible for the loss. And that can grind after a while if you're a player. And you're thinking, well, wait a minute, we're out here fighting, winning, and the manager's taking all the credit. And then, oh, when there's a slip up, well, these guys didn't do what I told them to do. No. If they had done what I said to do, then this wouldn't have been the issue. And I think there is some frustration, though, from Mourinho, because there is some big-name players. And you're looking at, we've been on this show multiple times talking about, has Pogba achieved what we expected him to achieve in going to Manchester United? Has Lukaku done that? Alexis Sanchez hasn't done it. So there's a point when you make three big money signings and all three of them haven't necessarily come off the way you hope they would have.
I'm with John on this. Mourinho hasn't given us a chance to really have a go at the players. It's always been either Pogba or definitely Mourinho. And then when we actually get off the nonsense that's coming on off the field with what Mourinho's saying, then we're picking apart Mourinho's teams, because he's playing people like Herrera at centre-back, and then he's moving McTominay at centre-back, and then he moves McTominay in the middle of the first half to centre-back, and then he takes him off at half. So everything we're talking about is pretty much not about the team and how so-and-so should be doing better and why he's failing. It's all about Mourinho, and he brings it all on himself.
Game not great, atmosphere awful. It's difficult, isn't it, playing behind closed doors? Yes, it's a rap on the knuckles for Croatia. They've had plenty of those before, but everyone else suffers. So there are 500 England fans who've paid their passage to Rijeka for the game before the announcement is made that the game's going to be behind closed doors. They then find a perch on a hill overlooking the stadium, and the security staff move them away from that. It's sold live around the world TV rights for considerable amounts of money, and it's not a spectacle. So you just wonder whether there are actually better ways of punishing Croatia in a situation like this than making them play behind closed doors. But that's by the by. I just felt there was no energy to the whole occasion. There was nothing for the players to feed off. There was no tempo to the game either. And so it didn't really ebb and flow. England had the better of it. Twice they hit the frame of the goal. Rashford should have scored twice. Croatia, for me, were significantly underwhelming. They were poor against a very good Spain in a game that we saw a month ago. They were poor again today. There wasn't much life about their display.
John mentions Marcus Rashford. I mean, he had those two very clear opportunities, Stevie.
Yep. Well, you wonder whether the fact that he's not consistently playing at Manchester United, whether that feeds into that. Certainly, there are the two chances that he should have scored, but maybe that little lack of sharpness because he's not consistently on the field is playing into that. But listen, when this guy plays for England, he's either scoring or he's getting chances. So that's the positive of Marcus Rashford with England.
But it's back to that consistency side. We were talking about Lukaku earlier, and I think it's a little bit with Rashford as well. It's one thing if you're not creating chances. It's another thing when you get yourself in those kind of opportunities. He should have finished at least one of them, no question about it. And that would have brought a whole new level of life to a game that was extremely lifeless. England created enough chances on the road. You don't get those kind of opportunities very often. No. Against a very good Croatia, you don't have a hostile environment because it's an empty stadium. You get a chance, you create chances. Harry Kane with an open header from 8 yards out that crashes against the crossbar. Rashford with two good chances. They finish one of those. Maybe it wakes up Croatia into sparking that game, but But really, you're looking at a Croatia that hasn't quite recovered from losing the World Cup final, and it just looks like the hangover is staying there because we were joking about it off air. Where was Luka Modric in that game? I mean, this is supposed to be the favorite to win the Ballon d'Or, and he's nowhere to be seen. No.
UEFA Nations League continues Saturday. Big match in Group 2 between Germany and the Netherlands. France sitting atop the group. John, I'll start with you on this one. These are a couple programs that could really use some type of momentum boost from this match, no?
Yeah, they could. I think there are one or two seeds of recovery being shown by the Dutch at the moment under Koeman. But it's a long way back from the lowly position that they find themselves. But I think there's enough young talent coming through to offer some hope for the future. Germany, interesting position, really, because they've not ordered Das Reboot, as they did in 2000 after they'd had a nightmare at Euro 2000. It seems to be steady as we go at the moment with the same coach. I'm not sure whether that's the best way forward, but that's where they are at the moment. And I think they might limp through this rather than stride through it.
Casey, who do you think needs this more?
Well, I think if you see where Germany were a couple years ago winning a World Cup, and yeah, it didn't quite go the way they wanted it to go in the last World Cup, getting knocked out of the group stage. But that's kind of par for course right now with the winners. So, and then you look at what they did in Confederation Cup with a very young side and really dominating. So they must be thinking that we can get this right. We have the players to do it. Though Holland, it's been a little bit more consistent and I'm still waiting to see these young players that John's talking about, if they can perform at this level, because these are players that are being picked out of Holland so young that you don't really know if they have that Dutch identity with the national team. They're going to the leagues that they're going at. They're going to England. They're going to Spain and Italy and stuff before they really have a chance to really get that identity for the national team.
Stevie, it's crazy to think of Germany and the Netherlands as struggling programs, but that's where we're at, right?
Yeah, we are. And if you're Germany, I don't think you're shaking in your boots. You know that there's a good possibility they're going to face a front three of Proms, Babel, Depay. I mean, it's hardly going to make you be overly worried, which is good because Germany are struggling. Those names, you think of age. I mean, Babel, I mean, he's a reject 10 years ago from Liverpool. Depay's a reject 3 years ago. So I think both sides really need a resurgence and a complete overhaul. Just right at this moment in time, Germany, as bad as they are just better than the Netherlands.
All right, we made it to extra time.
That's amazing. You'd never have known he was reading that off a piece of paper.
No,
just never have known.
Very conversational, right?
No.
All right, welcome into extra time, man. Hashtag FC Extra Time if you want to get us your questions. We've got a few of them laid out before us here. Fitting that after we just watched England-Croatia...
not again.
He's throwing a bit of acting in there as well. Fitting.
Try to be dramatic here. It is fitting that the first question is from Misgan. Have you guys ever played in stadiums without a crowd? Stevie?
Yeah, not for the reasons that they were banned.
Just not a lot of interest in the game at hand?
No, it kind of made me think, watching that Croatia-England game kind of made me think of pre-season when the first team would play the reserve team. In an empty Anfield, and the reserves always won. The reserves always won because we couldn't get up for it, there's no crowd, you know, and that edge was missing. And that's what was missing in that Croatia game. There was no edge, and it's not fun.
You ever played in a setting like that?
No, I never had to play in a game where they had closed door because of crowd problems. I have had to play neutral sites before because of crowd problems and things like that, but never just a complete empty stadium. Yes, I mean, you play kind of like an inter-squad game, maybe midweek at different times. You go down to the stadium and you do something. It feels a little odd.
It's weird, though.
Being in the stadium and nobody there, and it's just you guys training, but never in a international or a club game.
You know who I feel particularly bad for in a match like that? Guy that had to call it.
You don't, though. You're just saying that. That's just for show.
No, I did because you know, not as many as you. I've called a few games here and there. They're difficult on their own, and then you have no atmosphere.
Yeah.
Doesn't help, does it?
No, it's not easy, particularly when you've got Burley alongside you as well. It's probably the biggest weight that dragged us both down. But, you know, there was a certain irony that was a game that was being played behind closed doors after an offence that was committed by Croatia in a game that was played behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not great.
Next question from Dan. I believe penalty shootout to decide who wins should be taken from top of the box instead of the 12-yard spot. Thoughts? Makes it more about talent than goalie guessing the shot direction. Seems like a no-brainer. Casey, you said interesting.
Well, I mean, I would...
You'd love it as a goalie.
Well, I would definitely be the favorite as opposed to the striker being the favorite. That's really all it does. It just shifts the emphasis on is the odd save going to happen as opposed to the odd goal going to happen. I don't know.
Stevie?
So you'd rather not see as many hitting the back of the net? That kind of goes against what the game's all about, isn't it? The game's about
what you're saying,
the game's about putting the ball in the net. It's about scoring goals. All the rule changes over the last 25, 30 years have all been about giving the attacking side the edge. And all of a sudden, you're going to pull the rug away. Why don't we take it for the halfway? Let's make it
MLS shootout, the old school MLS shootouts.
No.
Yeah, let's bring those back.
It's crossbar challenge.
Crossbar challenge from the halfway line.
Honestly, that'd be great.
Well, but it would be, at least for me, I'm in a penalty shootout as a goalkeeper. All the pressure is on the goal scorer because they're supposed to score. Yeah. Now that would definitely change a little bit when you're hitting from the top of the 18 because now it's putting definitely more pressure on me. Because I would be expected to save a lot more from that distance than I would be from the penalty spot.
Let's say there's no wall. It's a free kick from literally just outside the 18, nobody else. Are you still guessing at that point as a goalie?
No.
You're reacting, purely reaction.
Yeah.
So that gives you a huge advantage.
Definitely. And the question is, do I have to stand on my line or can I actually narrow the angle a little bit? So there's a little different there as well.
Right.
Unless you're Messi. He can't hit a barn door from the penalty spot. But you stick a free kick just outside the penalty box.
Yep.
You know,
put a wall in front of him.
You know, with a wall in front of him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
At a lesser level, you'd say the same of Riyad Mahrez, wouldn't you? I really like him, the crossbar challenge. I think Mahrez would be terrific at that, but I wouldn't give him a penalty to take.
All right, next question from Kumalo. Were you part of the Liverpool team, Stevie, that played Spurs in a friendly match back in 1984 in Swaziland?
Yes, I was.
You were. Do you remember anything about that trip?
Actually,
I think I remember.
Tell a lie. I didn't play.
Was it in your book?
Yeah, I did. I played the last game.
I think you wrote about this in your book.
Yeah, I might have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played the last game. I was late going out. We had a bit of a family crisis at the time, and so I missed the first half of the trip. But I came out for the second half and played in the last game. Didn't
forget your passport or anything like that.
I lost my ticket though.
That's right. I remember there was something that went wrong in that trip. You lost your ticket. You
lost my ticket.
You showed up to the airport, no ticket.
Well, the guy never told, because I was coming out late. They said, pick your ticket up, blah, 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 out you come. They didn't tell me it was a return ticket.
Well, maybe you said it in the blah, 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 but you just didn't listen.
No, there was no blah, blah, blah about it. So just there's your ticket to go. And then you can come back with the travelling party. So I got in my hotel room, emptying everything out, getting rid of all my stuff, got it in the bin, see you later. And then I got to the airport. On the way home, and the guy said, oh, Steve, can you give me your ticket? And I was like, yeah, right. Because I thought he was, number one, I thought it was a wind-up.
Right. You were the victim of many a wind-up with that group,
I used to fall for most things then.
And now you're the one
he was winding me up. And I said, no, I don't have it. He went, yeah. So he started laughing because he thought I was winding him up. And of course, eventually he realised I was telling the truth and he was like, oh no. But they sorted it out eventually.
I'm glad you made it home. You're here.
I'm
here to tell about it. All right. Last question from Bonga. If two players in the same team each score 3 goals in a single fixture, who takes the match ball home?
I'm saying the biggest guy. That's my guess. The biggest guy between the two, he said, this is my ball. It's a fight.
I like that as a tiebreaker.
See, here's the thing.
No, there's multiple balls in the game. So basically, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't really know.
You'd sign up 2 balls and give them to to each.
What do you mean there's multiple?
Well, usually in the game, it's not one ball.
It's not like you and your mates go down the park. You've only got one ball between.
There's like 6 balls.
Yeah, but you only
around.
give out one match.
And if the ball
right?
goes, if the ball goes into the water, you can't start the game until somebody goes and fishes it out, right?
Right.
So when the ball's booted over the stand, they just throw another ball.
They just hand another ball.
So if you've already scored 3,
so there's.
how do you know you've got the
I mean,
same
in
ball?
a Premier League game, there's probably 8 balls.
Yeah, multi-ball system.
Yeah.
And if Sam Allardyce is the manager, there's probably 16.
Yes.
If
Well, it depends.
If they're a goal down with 5 minutes to go, there are 16
If they're
balls.
losing, there's 16 balls.
Yeah.
If they're winning, they're just 1.
But generally, you only give out one match ball, right?
But because how often
Can you
are there
give
multiple hat tricks?
Like,
They
I don't know.
What do you mean? You don't
Like
give match balls. It's
no.
not like American football, where somebody gets a match ball every time you play.
Yeah, and the championship rings, you don't like that either?
Well, usually, how would it be for us? It's a guy who gets a hat trick, or a lot of times your first cap, you might get a ball.
Does everybody sign it? Is that the deal?
yeah.
Everybody autographs it?
Yep. Is that signing? Is that what happens?
So, yeah. Nobody asks for my autograph, so it's very rare that I don't really get to practice.
You've done
it
a
as
few
much.
fresh air ones.
Yeah.
I'm going to practice this.
Someday they'll ask me for my autograph. Someday. Maybe tomorrow will be that day when Casey and I return to do the show. You won't be here, Stevie. John, you'll be calling a match.
Yeah, with Casey, we've got a very, very
Wow,
exciting
double
game
duty
tomorrow.
for you
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I have
Wow.
a morning game, and then I get to spend that afternoon with you, Seb.
Are you going to join us a little bit for the show as well?
I'm probably not.
Not if I don't have to.
Because you'll probably ask me about Croatia, England again, won't you?
Very,
So, no.
very non-committal. All right, welcome
What's the other one? There's another one.
Hey, everybody.
Hey there,
Hey,
buddy.
buddy.
Hey,
Buddy guy. This is so difficult to get through this.
Is this a problem?
Is this bad? Is it broke? Is that broke? Did I break it? I know you guys are missing Dan Thomas, right? You've been missing him a lot this week. That guy, you don't remember him? We're sure that's not photoshopped, right? Who is your preferred anchor to work with on ESPN?
He's not good for my health.
What's that? Why is
The
that?
first time we worked together, and he just went crazy, whatever, argument, this and that and the other. I woke up the next day and I had a headache and I was throwing up. Simply, he's not good for my health. And I've stayed away since then.
I think it's in your contract. There's only a limited amount of days we can work together, right? You could certainly make the case for Wayne Rooney as MVP.
Hey! Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defense rests. We're done here.
The witness has exposed himself as a fraud. Except backpedaling out of the studio.
You're asking me about Stevie Nichol's golf attire.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, because you told me he doesn't dress appropriately for golf, right?
Or anything.
He doesn't dress appropriately for TV.
You just can't take him anywhere.
That's the same shirt he wore last night on the ESPN FC.
Yeah, it should have been a red 60 years ago and 100 years ago whenever Stevie Nicol played. It was a red card.
Unless I've been dreaming for 56 years, the game's about scoring goals, isn't it?
You look good at 56.
Thank you very much.
That's what I took away from that.
My favourite thing about Gab is he's an expert in making spaghetti. Gab was coming to my house for his dinner one night, and I actually said to him, "Would you like some spaghetti bolognese?" And his answer was, "Only if the spaghetti's cooked properly."
I was actually going to come up with something genuine and heartfelt, but since he brought up the expert in spaghetti, now
You try to say,
now
oh,
I'm
is it
struggling to
genuine
come
and
up with
heartfelt?
something snarky.
There's lots of old people in Bournemouth, you know.
Really?
Yeah. It was a big retirement area.
Are you saying that's where Ian lives?
He's thinking about it.
What are you trying to say, Ali?
I'm sorry.
What? I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
Next time I'm over, I will put some ingredients together, and I will cook you and Mrs. Nicol and the dogs a proper pasta meal.
One condition. You've got to wear the wife's apron.
Not sure it would fit me, but yeah.
Oh, by the way, they couldn't win a game before Wayne Rooney
They were
came.
dead.
What do you want from me?
Well, you know,
An
just,
apology.
Yeah.
Camera 4. Wayne Edward Rooney, I'm sorry.
Oh, what?
I was.
Oh,
You gotta mean it, though.
oh, you've just embarrassed yourself now, apologising.
I respect that. Nick wants to know, Paul.
I wasn't asking for your respect.
The incessant mocking just.
Hey, that's funny, right?
You love it.
It was
You love it.
You got some pelters in that
I
one.
did, yeah.
You took some abuse.
It was a tough week, you know. They really usually only let me host the show like a day or two at a time, and then, you know, when it's a week, it's a lot. You took it on the chin there a little bit too.
I've got to say, it was well deserved.
You got the Mexico national team tie on.
There you go.
Talking MLS alongside the former Columbus Crew striker Brian McBride and Columbus in particular. So there's some talk, we've heard this before, that they're not going to Austin and they're going to stay put. First of all, I don't think we're expecting confirmation either way for a while. But if they are to stay, how big a boost would it be for this franchise?
Oh, I think it's a huge boost, not only from the franchise, but I think for soccer in general, for the community of Columbus. I know, and I experienced it firsthand, how important the Crew can be to the community. And I think the idea of keeping it in the city, the amount of impact a large group of people that put together Save the Crew had to make or help this possibly happen, you can't say enough. One in particular, an ex-teammate who's very much at the forefront with this group, Dante Washington, has been vocal from the get-go and has really put a lot of time in to try and help. And while nothing is done yet, I think it's very exciting for the community. I can tell you every single player that I've talked to that I was teammates with or that had played with the Crew are very set on trying to help support and make sure that the community itself and the city does not lose the heritage of what Columbus Crew soccer is.
There is clearly a passion among many, maybe not enough, but among many, to keep them where they are right now. But we've had this issue, we might have to decamp to Austin and change. Now, assuming that doesn't happen and they stay where they are, what needs to happen to this football club to ensure that it never happens again? We've seen with Kansas City, who became Sporting KC, and they moved stadiums and they rebranded.
Sure.
Something like that, does it need to be a better local TV deal? Because the rating isn't the best on the cable package that it's with. What needs to happen to Columbus Crew to ensure that there's never again a doubt about their future?
I think the biggest thing and the biggest impact has to be a local involvement. And when the Crew first started out, there was a huge amount of the community leaders that had an impact, a positive impact, to help and make sure the Columbus Crew not only was able to survive, but thrive. We built a stadium because of this. And I think after the stadium got built, they started to have a little drift with the community. And now I think they realize that. Everybody that's a part of Save the Crew, that's a part of the Crew outstanding community, basically people from outside looking in, realize, wait a second, we've lost our identity, which is the city, the people of the city. And I was there when the Blue Jackets just started up. And the amount of verve and energy in the whole community because of the amount of impact that local ownership had was, you can't speak enough of it. And I think that to move forward, you need to have a stadium in place. You need to make sure that it's in the right place for many different reasons. And then you have to have a community be involved and be a part of it.
I wouldn't hold your breath and wait for confirmation. As Brian said, it might not happen pretty quickly, but the signs are certainly looking pretty good for the Columbus Crew to stay where they are.